Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And you're very welcome along to this week's episode of Friday Night Racing. We're with you every Friday afternoon on all of our social channels at 3 o'clock. That means you can get us on YouTube, you can get us on Twitter, you can get us on Facebook. Wherever you are, we are. And then every Friday evening at 8 o'clock, you'll get us on Off the Ball on News Talk as well. As ever, Johnny Ward is with us this week. Johnny, how are you?
Yeah, good, Ger. It's going to be great to have Rory Cleary on. One of the great stories of racing, I think. Real... unlikely hero of a classic, and I think everyone got a lift from him winning a classic, and looking forward to speaking to him. Bit of good weather I think over the weekend on the way as well, which
well,
is
that's
badly
what they said
needed.
about today, and it's lashed all day, so I mean I hope you're right, Johnny. I'm not sure, but I hope you're right. Welcome along to Friday Night Racing here on Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie, or you can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. And I want to say well done to Johnny on two fronts. He presented last week at the last moment because I was at home awaiting a COVID test, and then also you correctly predicted that Mac Swiney was going to win this race, Johnny, so well done.
Yeah, that was definitely a long shot double anyway, but I was watching the race actually on while it's obviously been very, very professional on the Saturday football show, myself, Lauro and obviously John Duggan chatting away with Shane Keegan, but I was really hoping that they wouldn't come to me while the Guineas was on, and they didn't. And I was in love with Rory Cleary for about half a minute. He did an unbelievable job in steering that horse home by a deceptively short head, and it's what's rare is wonderful, I suppose.
Well, let's listen to the last 25 seconds of the 2000 Guineas from last Saturday.
They're racing to the final furlong and a half, spread across the track. It's Mac Swiney attempting to fight him off one by one. Poetic Flair on the near side, the far side is Van Gogh. Jim Bolger has the winning of it. It's Mac Swiney on the far side of Poetic Flair. Mac Swiney and Rory Cleary, a special day. Mac Swiney makes all in the Tattersalls Irish 2000 Guineas.
Rory Cleary, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Yeah, is the hair standing up on the back of your neck listening to that?
Oh, every time I hear it stands, yeah.
It's class, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
So I just watched the race back there again, and as soon as you're out of the traps, they're talking about Mac Swiney leading the way. Essentially, it's trap to line, and that must have been the longest couple of minutes of your life.
That is for sure. I thought the line had never come, but eventually it came just in time.
What's your recollection of how the run of the race went for you? Like, at what point did you get comfortable, and then when did you start to worry again?
Look, once the gates opened, he popped smart, and he brought me into the race lovely, and he covered the ground so well. I couldn't believe I went down to the 3 pole. I was still going so easy, and got to the 2.5 and gave him a squeeze, and he picked up for me. And I was still kind of in disbelief. I was waiting for something to come whizzing by me, but he just kept picking up and letting out really well to the line. When Poetic Flair came to me, he came to me well, and we quickened up together again, and went to the line very strong, the two of us.
When you're talking about Poetic Flair coming to you, how aware are you in the race, A, that it's Poetic Flair, and B, that there is something breathing down your neck?
Yeah, look, it's not until he gets right upside you that you can actually see which horse it is. But I could see his head coming, and that we were nip and tuck, and I could hear another horse coming as well, but I wasn't sure because I was after making the run, and I was only aware of Kevin when he came to me, and then it ended up being Shamey that came up behind us on the other side of me. So it was unbelievable, and I genuinely still can't believe it.
What does that sound like? What are those last 2 furlongs in particular? What sounds are you hearing?
Well, you're just hearing you're hearing the horses galloping behind you, getting closer to you, and you have whips going, and you have jockeys growling at their horses to try and encourage them to go forward, and you're not sure who's coming at you until they're actually at you.
And can you hear your own heartbeat, or are you breathing at all?
I don't think it's kind of, for those couple of seconds, you don't know if you're breathing or your heart has stopped or whatever. It's just, and it's like when you get past the line, it's like it's just a big heavy weight lifted off your shoulders, you know.
I suppose if you're known for a particular trait as a jockey, Rory, maybe this is somewhat through riding for Jim and maybe riding for Damien English and down the years and so forth, your front running style would be well known. But will you ever give a horse a better judge ride than that? Because you're winning a classic by short head, always in a lovely rhythm. But at the same time, you know, he's a horse that they talk about maybe running a derby. You know he can stay further, and the easiest way to get a horse beat is by going too fast.
Yeah, well, look at it. It's like what you said there. Once you find that rhythm and you get into a rhythm that the horse is in a nice even rhythm and is doing it easy. But then once they have the ability, they can do it then, you know. And it's you know, it's a natural thing for a horse to gallop, and like that. Once you get them into a rhythm, it's like you going for a run. When you figure out your own pace to go, you can go for a mile or two longer. Do you know what I mean? But if you jump off and you're going out of your own comfort zone, well then you're only going to get up the road a little bit, you know.
And like watching the Giro d'Italia there the last couple of days, Dan Martin won a stage where I don't think he'd won a stage at the Giro before. Nicholas Roach was trying to win a stage and finished third, nearly finished second, and you fell for him because I think Nicholas Roach is in his mid-30s. It could be like potentially his last chance. With all due respect to Kevin Manning, he's had plenty of big race success. He's had classic success. He won the Newmarket Guineas as recently as this year on the same horse he rode on Saturday. Were you thinking in the last 50, 100 yards, please don't get beat here, please, this is my chance?
Yeah, look, it was I think no matter who was upside you, that's what you're always thinking. You're always just hoping that you'll make it out and get to the line first. But to be fair to Kevin Manning, he said after the English Guineas, he says we were riding work at home in Jim's, and he was saying there's a fine chance the two of these will rock up together in the Irish Guineas, and he genuinely he said in front of Jim it'd be hard to split the two of them, you know, and how right he was, you know.
That was the thing, like that. I tipped Mac Swiney 100% because of the ground. I wasn't sure how it would suit Poetic Flair, but my worry was, which was effectively this time last week, I didn't think the Guineas would be on because Pat Keogh, who's arguably the most positive man in the world, seemed fairly ominous about it. They had way more rain on Thursday night than envisaged, so the stars kind of aligned for you. It was bad ground, but it would have went ahead. So if they'd switched it to Monday and the ground were a bit better, who knows what would have happened? Yeah,
well, look, it's funny enough that you said that. Yeah, we'd a lot of rain on the Thursday night and through Friday, and I walked the track on Friday, and there was the Curragh staff and Pat Keogh and the whole lot. They did an unbelievable job to get that meeting ahead, because there was in places there was water lying on the track and they were draining it off but like that, the track still rode unbelievably well the next day on Saturday. Like the ground, like you'll even see the first couple of races, they weren't leaving a whole lot of a print in the ground. The ground was still very tight and it held up really well. Like you wouldn't have called it any worse than soft on Saturday, but it was a little bit worse on the Sunday, all right. But it's just, I think that everywhere was so dry up until then that the rain probably just kind of flowed off the track a bit, you know. So it was unbelievable, yeah. Can't believe it.
Will you talk to us about that work? What it's like when yourself and Kevin are on the gallops in Jim Bolger's and Poetic Flair and Mac Swiney? Like, how do you know that, or how did he know? Why did he think they were going to be so close? Is there a little bit of, do you race a little bit for a furlong here and there in the middle of the gallops just to kind of get them out and see what they would be like? Is that the level of work, the level of speed that you get up to?
It's like the work at home. Like they would have never worked together, Poetic Flair or Mac Swiney. But to work at home, like Kevin would know all the horses inside out, along with myself and even some of the other lads in the yard, like Luke McAteer and Willie Byrne, and you've Gordon Power there as well, which is he's a huge asset to the yard as well. But Kevin would have ridden the Mac Swiney and Poetic Flair most of their work, and he genuinely said if the two of these rock up in the Irish Guineas, it'll be very hard to split them. And how right he was, because I couldn't have predicted it, but like I did, I was nervous, quietly nervous going to ride him, because his work had been very good. Kevin rode him earlier on in the week before the Guineas, and I rode another horse and I led him in his piece of work, and he quickened up really well and worked really well. And Kevin was delighted with him, and he just says he's definitely back to himself and ready to go.
I was going to say, you couldn't have predicted it, but like certainly it sounds like Kevin was willing to predict it, which meant that there must have been a little bit of pressure, because obviously you're on a horse that is the equivalent of a Guineas winner in England on Poetic Flare, so there must have been a fair bit of expectation that this was a big opportunity for you.
Yeah, look, it was. Yeah, there was a little bit of pressure on me, but I think it was mostly from myself. Like, the boss was unbelievable. Like, the instructions he gave me and everything, there was no pressure from him or Kevin. I think the fact that Poetic Flare was in the race, I think he took the pressure off me anyway, if you know what I mean. But it's just unbelievable. Like, for the likes of me to even get a ride in a classic is a big thing for me. But to ride for a boss like Jim Bolger, that has the confidence to put you up on a high class horse. Like, it wasn't as if he was a no-hoper. He was fancying him as well. Like, he had it said everywhere that he thinks that he'll have the first two home in the Guineas, and like, he proved himself right again.
I don't know if you watched the Friends reunion thing last night, Ger.
A bit of it, yeah, I saw a bit of it.
What struck you most about it?
Well, the ageing process has been kind to some people and unkind to others.
They look like mannequins, did they not? I mean, do we, like, people make choices in their lives, and sometimes they're wrong choices. I'm not going to sit here and criticise. There's a spurious point to be made here.
Go on, make the spurious point.
About ageing with grace, right? So Jim Bolger turns 80, predictably enough. He's born Christmas Day, isn't he? I'm looking at this, just confirmed. So he is kind of a Christ-like figure in some respects, but he's 80 years of age this year. He's won the Newmarket Classic with a horse by a very unfashionable stallion, albeit one that he trained. He's won the Irish Classic and had a 1-2 in it with Mac Swiney. But not only that, Rory, like, the fact that he ran Poetic Flare in the 3 classics, like he did with Finch Bio, who, from what I recall, came within a short head of winning the 3 classics. He basically gets the rule book, kicks it out the window, and just laughs at everyone else for getting it kind of wrong, because I don't honestly know any trainer who would have done what he did with Poetic Flare and got so close with it and then had a 1-2 in the Curragh Guineas. Yeah,
well, look, it's like what he says. They're two separate, they're two different horses in every way. Like, they take their training different. They're trained differently, and Poetic Flare he's just that type of horse that, if anything, he comes out of his race, he improves, he gets heavier when he comes out of his races. He puts on weight. So that's just the kind of horse that he is, and he enjoys his racing. So I suppose that's what kind of influenced him as well to go with him, because he came out of the English Guineas fantastic, and like went down to the French Guineas then, and he came out of that also. He put on weight, and you couldn't but go for the Irish Guineas as well, because what's the point in leaving him at home in the stables when he could make history,
It's remarkable. Like, when you think of, he trained the sires of both as well, and that I guess that spell of good fortune he's had, starting probably with Teofilo into New Approach, and the fact that he's gotten almost some of the best horses out of those stallions as well, and you're now thinking that he's 2 more stallions to go to war with well into his 80s, 90s, and maybe beyond.
Yeah, but it's unbelievable. Like, he's got 2 potential high class stallions now, hopefully. So he's got all the mares, and the lads in the stud are always busy. So it's going to be exciting, to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years. So it's great to be able to say that we were a part of it as well, you know.
Yeah, and a big part of it as well. Our guest this Friday on Friday Night Racing is Rory Cleary, who just last week won the 2,000 Guineas on Mac Swiney. Rory, the other side of the pressure is the excitement that comes from a yard where there's great opportunity for people, you and everybody else that you've mentioned earlier on. So what's that atmosphere like when you're heading into a Guineas weekend with two short enough prices up against the mightiest training yards in the world, essentially, and everybody's bubbling away with this kind of nervous energy with the excitement layered on top?
Yeah, look, it's like the boss and the lads back in the yard couldn't have been any happier with the way the horses were going into the race. I think, you know, everyone was kind of nervous and just, you know, hoping things go smooth and that the horses get to the race course in good form and things like that. So then the pressure was kind of moved on to the jockey then, because, you know, the jockey is the person that's in charge. Then once them gates open, it's up to the horse and the jockey, and you know, every jockey just hopes everything happens nice and smooth and easy, and you know, because it is very marginal between doing things right and maybe making a slight mistake, or even saying after, well, maybe if I did this or did that. But, you know, in my case, it worked out perfect, and I couldn't be happier, and it was just, you know, unbelievable.
How long are you with Jim?
I'm with Jim 9 years now.
And in terms of this being a turning point or an important victory, is it a one-off, Rory, do you think, or is it like a big leap forward in terms of your own ambitions as a jockey? Or what difference will this make to you, do you think?
Look, to me, it'll make a huge difference to me. Mightn't for my career, but just to be able to say that you've ridden in one of them big races, you've won an Irish Classic. It's just, you know, there's a lot of high class jockeys out there that don't have that to their name. That, you know, and they might never ride a Classic winner, but like, for me to say that I've ridden a Classic winner is just, you know, it's I'm in the history book now, and it's, you know, I'm very proud of it, and it's, you know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just, you know, you're driving up and down the country every day going racing, and you might be lucky to have one ride or two rides or whatever, and, you know, it's a bit frustrating, because it's kind of hard to motivate yourself to go racing every day. You're going down the country to maybe for one ride, and it's an outsider, and I'm not saying outsiders don't win, but you know yourself, it's just that one winner now really would just perk you up and just, you know, give you hope and that it might happen again, and it could happen, and it could happen to anybody and any jockey that's out there, that someday the same situation might come up and it just might happen to them as well, you know.
I guess it gives you the confidence too that you're as good as anybody else in the race, that you had an opportunity to win, you took it, you gave the horse the perfect ride.
It gives you confidence to say that it's happened already, and it could happen again. But if you don't have the horse, no matter how good a jockey you are, if you don't have the horse, you know, it's the horse that really does it all for you. And it's just that the jockey gets all the praise, but in fact, the horse makes it so easy for you. If things happen right and you're on the right horse, it makes it all very easy. I
want to interject there, because I think you're playing it down a bit in that, and I'm not a jockey, but to my mind, you know, there's far too much emphasis on getting strength in a finish, and he's strong as an ox, or she's great in a finish, yada yada, where I think it's like, it's pace judgment that matters. When I don't know what the wind conditions were at Curragh or whatever, but I honestly don't think, like, is that as good a ride as you've given a horse? And I'm not saying that because it was a Classic, and you can watch the replay of that race a million times and you'll enjoy it in every level, but you still had to get it spot on, and you won by a short head.
Yeah, look, I remember the race well, because like we jumped out and the rain is beating down on us, and we're going along, but like it was so easy for me to get into a rhythm with him, because he covered the ground so easy. But like, for me to say, was that my best ride? I look, at everybody would say yeah, but maybe it wasn't. Like, there's a lot of them 47 to 65 handicaps out there that I would have given far better rides and far better judged rides, if you know what I mean. And you know, would never get praise for it. I think it was just the fact that it happened in the Classic that, you know, I'm getting all the praise. But for me, I think that race definitely was all down to the horse, really. Well, you know, and I was just lucky enough to partner him, you know.
You're completely wrong on that, anyway. But I think I'd put it another way. No jockey could have given that horse a better ride than that, in my view, because I know, like...
I suppose that's the point, isn't it? And that must give you incredible confidence.
I'm not saying Rory's Pat Smullen or Declan McDonough or Colin Keane or whatever.
No,
you know,
better than them.
Yeah, absolutely better than them. And, you know, they'll completely agree with that as well. Colin Keane, obviously, then, and I mentioned Shamie Heffernan, you were just saying this earlier, the 3 like classic winners of last weekend, like 3 of the proper good lads in the weighing room. But just in terms of good lads, I was reflecting this today with a sense of amazement, really, that it's 18 years, I think, this year since your brother Sean passed away, and that was that horrible year in 2003 where he lost the 3 jockeys in Ireland. But in the context of that, and also your father Tom being a trainer in the Midlands, who's without a doubt one of the most popular trainers in the game as well, what did this mean to your family?
It meant everything, really, you know. I remember when Sean had his accident, I was only 16 and I was only starting out as an apprentice. I was on my 2nd season. And at that time, it was kind of hard to wonder, you know, for my family, like, I was thinking, should I stay going riding now, or should I maybe look for a different career? Because, you know, it really hit my family hard, and it hit me hard as well. But I just kept going, and I had great seasons. Then I had really bad seasons, and things got really tough. And to be fair, Davy Moore then decided he was kind of Jim Bolger's lightweight jockey at the time, and he decided to up and move to Canada, which was a great move for him. He's been very successful out there. And my agent Dave Keena approached me, and he says, there might be an opening there. What do you think? Should we approach Jim Bolger and see would he give you a job or whatever? And like that we did. We approached him, and he took me on. And to be fair, I've never looked back. He's been so good to me over the years. Like, even though I've had a few quiet seasons and things like that, but I've still ridden a lot of great winners for him in handicaps and even Group 3 level. But for him to give me the ride in the Guineas was just, even without winning, it was just the confidence he had of putting me on the horse, even if the horse didn't win. That even made my family proud, because for a trainer like that, a high-class trainer like him, to have the faith in putting their son on one of his high-class horses was just brilliant. And I don't know, it made me proud because I was able to make my family proud, you know, and it's just an unbelievable feeling, and I love for every single jockey riding in the Wareham or riding wherever to be able to do the same thing, because the lift it has given me is just unbelievable. Like that, people say, oh, rock on to your next. If I never rode another classic winner, that day was just unbelievable, so special, very emotional, and I just got a great kick out of it. And all the jockeys came out to the parade ring and clapped me back in. And that was very special. I'm even getting emotional here now at the minute, but it was fantastic.
When you think of that, though, like, you know, it's not that long since Pat Smullen's, you know, Cancer Charity Day, you know, all the legends, but when you're in that parade ring at the Curragh, you're standing in the shoulders of giants in terms of the historical context of the jockeys that have ridden here, that have, you know, gotten off a horse after winning a classic. So many greats down the years. Courses have been running in the Curragh for hundreds, if not, you know, over thousands of years that horses have met at the Curragh, and you became immortalised in that moment by winning the classic as well. You're part of them now. Yeah,
like I just wish every jockey could experience, because it's just unbelievable, and I can't thank everybody enough for the reaction they gave afterwards. And it was just very special, a very special day. It made me proud, made my family proud, and it'd be fantastic if Sean, my brother, was still around, because would have made him proud as well, you know.
Oh, no doubt. Rory, I can only imagine the difficult decision to continue going, because in your head you bear the burden of following in your brother's footsteps, but you also, I guess, are a bit scared that your parents are worried that the same thing might happen to you as well. So it's not like you're an accountant or a publican or a footballer. It's it's the same thing. You're doing the same sport that cost your brother his life. What ultimately was that decision to go forward? Why? How were you able to even go forward?
Yeah, look, I don't know. At the time it was a little bit tough. But our problem was we grew up with the horses. We worked with the horses from a very young age. We hadn't much of an education, so there kind of wasn't another option for me. I was never good in school. It wasn't until I kind of came to Kildare that I actually learned to read and write a bit. But I don't know. I just thought at the time, like, there was nothing else for me to do. That was the only way I could make a living, and just hope that the same thing wasn't going to happen. That lightning wouldn't strike twice, and that's just the way it is for us at the minute. That's just the way it is for us. That we just have to keep going and just hope that lightning doesn't strike twice. That's all.
That's very difficult for any teenager to deal with, really, to go through the grief, but also having that fear.
It wasn't a fear. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not a fear for me, but if you wanted to call it a fear, it'd be just a fear that to see my family go through it again. That's just it, really. Like, I've no problem I get up on any horse in any shape or form.
And you have.
And I have, and I still will. But it's just, I'd hate for any family to go through what my family had to go through at that time.
Barney Curley's death, I firmly believe, I'm not particularly religious at all, but I firmly believe that Barney, who obviously he went for the priesthood earlier in his life, didn't become a priest, but was a firm believer in God or whatever. But I think at the end of his life, as in the last few weeks where he knew that he was about to die any time, I think the faith was a real strength for him, and I firmly believe it helped him along the way. But was there a part of you, without trying to be all soppy here, was there a part of you last Saturday that felt that Sean was at the Curragh helping you along?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely. Like, it's something you think of even before you go out to ride. You'd be going out to ride in the race, and you say, you'd be nearly saying, geez, Sean, give us a little hand here now today, maybe, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I won't lie, I did before the Curragh. I was cantering down to the start on Mac Swiney, and I said, give us a little bit of help today. It'd be great if it could happen. And he gave me just a little bit of help because we just won a short head.
What was the crack with your dad after? Did you just ring him and say, were you watching that, or?
Would you believe I didn't actually ring him for, I'd say, till after the last race at the Curragh.
That's a disgrace. Tom Cleary, he's just waiting for the phone to ring. And who are you ringing? Everyone in your phone book before him?
No, I didn't ring anyone. I rang the boss, and he just says, well done. And then I started breaking out, broke down, and I said, look, I can't talk now, I'll ring you later. He goes, sure, go on, I'll talk to you later. And that was it. So I rang him then later on in the evening, and sure, it was great. So I don't know, it just took me a while to kind of sink in and just realise what was after happening, and it's like you said, it was very special, and it's great to be a part of that, and to be able to say that you partnered a classic winner, it's all.
I know, Rory, you say you want everybody to be able to experience the emotion of what it's like, but it feels like, we hear Barcelona and Liverpool saying this matters more, and Mescaon club bigger than a club, but they're not really. They win a Champions League here and there and whatever. It's joy for their fans or whatever. But for you, legitimately winning this, I don't think the jockeys would have come out for everybody. And Again, all of those jockeys who are brilliant and win classics in their careers, it's a big day for them and a big day for their family, and people move on. But you're dead right to like savour this moment and celebrate it, because you know you never know if it's going to happen again or not. But the fact that it's happened this first time is such a significant moment for you and for your family, given your history and just given how embedded you are in the sport of racing as well.
Yeah, no, look, it's like you say, it's just we've been around a good while. I'd like to think I get on with everyone. All the lads in the wear, I'm sure they're great fellas, and you know, like I said, when they came out to the parade ring and the rain is beating down on them, it was just very special what they did, and very, very grateful for it. You know, it was lovely.
You've got a yard in Kildare and you're doing a bit of training, is that right? Is that the plan into the future, or what's the crack with what happens after you finish being a jockey? Not that I'm retiring you here at all.
No. Yeah, I have a small little yard in Kildare, in Watergrange. Myself and the wife, we run a small little bit of pre-training, but we do a lot of breaking horses. Mostly half-bred horses actually, that'll go on eventing or show jumping, and a lot of them have been successful. But I do like to train a few, pre-train a few for Dad and a couple of other people, and I wouldn't take on the training side of things yet anyway, because it's a thing that you need time. With me, there might be a day that you might miss and you mightn't just get to do what you need to then kind of work with the horses that you need to do, and because I'd be going racing and things like that. So, you know, in time, a long time down the road, I would like to maybe take up training on a small scale, and give it a go and see, because I've been in a few yards now, and like I'd like to think I have a little idea of what's needed and what's needed to be done. So, you know, maybe in the future I would take on a little bit of training. We'll see.
I love the idea of a trainer starting out. I think, and I speak on Ger's behalf here, he'd like me to add that the off the ball lads will go into a horse with you down the line, one of your first horses, and as long as you wine and dine us and Mrs. gives us a nice breakfast when we call.
As long as you've mucked out a few stables, we'll give you a breakfast.
Ger's all up for that as well.
Yeah.
Johnny, have you been a successful owner in the past, or I think Rory, you want better owners than Johnny Ward?
The worst thing that can happen with your first horse you own is it being good, because then it's basically all downhill from there. It's
or have you as an owner is the other worst thing that you could do. But Rory, in terms then of the rest of the season as a jockey, does Dave Keena suddenly start taking more calls saying, yeah, I wouldn't mind having Rory's in a bit of form there, can you get him up on my horse?
Sure, look, we'll see. It's kind of too soon to see, but look, we'll see what happens, and we'll take it. We'll take any ride that comes, and sure, hopefully we can get going a bit better now and see what happens, and you know, and try and ride a winner over hers as well for Daddy. So we'll see what happens there as well.
That's the other thing. You've, I think it's only in the last 18 months, 2 years that you've done some national hunt jockeying. Is that right?
Yeah, just over this winter. I had a few rides over hers. Enjoyed it. It was kind of only for, you know, a little bit of crack at the start, but I enjoyed it, and I would like to give it a go. Like the jump jockeys are unbelievable. Like what they have to go through is now that's tough. But I enjoy any kind of horse, and let it be a race horse or a pony. I enjoy all the horses, and I would like to just have that off, take that off the box as well, that I rode a winner over jumps, you know, and I would like to do that.
You were at the sales today, I understand. Are you buying or selling?
No, I was at Doncaster Breeze Up sales. That's why I'm not riding today. I have to isolate for 5 days, so I came back yesterday. I came back Wednesday night, sorry. And I was just over there riding Breeze Up horses for Lynn Lodge Stud, which, you know, I've been doing for a number of years now. And like that, it's a thing that I do every year. I ride most of the Breeze Ups, and you know, I end up riding a lot of horses then for the likes of Lynn Lodge Stud, that maybe horses that they didn't sell or whatever like that, or even fillies that they've bought in that they want to you know, boost up their pedigree for Eddie and Wendy O'Leary. So it's you know, it's kind of a little door for me as well to go at as well.
This is worth Lynn Lodge is obviously Eddie O'Leary stud for those listening who mightn't have a big interest racing. I hope a lot of people are still listening who are compelled by obviously the interview or whatever. But just can you explain the breeze ups and the art of being a jockey for this is an entirely commercial couple of furlongs effectively where you're trying to sell something and show that it's fast?
Yeah, well, look, it's Lynn Lodge stud they'd always have a select few every year for the breeze up sales. And I've been with Eddie for a long time now, and it's just a sales, and you're showing off your horse that you go on the race course and you let them swing up over 2 furlongs, and some of them come up really fast or whatever. But a lot of horses, a lot of trainers and even consigners like to see their horse coming up nice, even, covering the ground well, and and it's just a stepping stone for selling another high-class horse,
Actually, on that, so how much of it is movement and like the fluidity of the movement of the horse and just the impression visually that he or she gives versus speed?
Yeah, we see that everybody different. Yeah, like there is people that times them at the sales, and they'll go for the faster ones, and then you'll have someone that they'll just view them on their stride pattern or even their conformation and their way of doing things. Like everybody different. So they're there for everybody to see, and it's just some people would see more than others, or they'd have completely different opinions. So it's just it's a great way of people being able to buy what they want, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you go to the sales and buy a yearling, you don't know what way they're going to end up or whatever, but you get a better picture when you see them at the breeze up sales of what they're actually potentially going to be. And
so the breeze ups are whatever time of the day they're on. Is the sale immediately afterwards, or like is it the next day? How does that work?
Yeah, the breeze up was on Wednesday. Then there were all day yesterday for people to view them. And today, then they were selling. They started selling today at 11 o'clock, so that it'll be going on till this evening anyway.
Right, that's mad, isn't it? So you bring the horse over, run it on the first day. Everybody gets to poke and prod and have a look in person on the next day, and then the third day, it's should I get off the pot, buy the horse or not?
That's it, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's fascinating stuff. Rory, it's an amazing story, and congratulations to you and to your family. I can only, as you said, the emotion, and we could hear it there in the voice as well. It's like fulfillment of all that hard work, the countless hours that you've put in to get to the point where you're ready to win a classic in such a spectacular way as well. Like, that is such a crazy race that you're like out from the front and you can hear the gallop of 2 very high class horses behind you and you just touch them off. It's sensational stuff. So as I said, congratulations to you and your family, and I hope you have a sensational year now, Rory.
Thanks a million. Thank you very much.
It's Rory Cleary there, very popular winner. I haven't heard of, and maybe it happens in the sport relatively regularly, Johnny, I don't know, but I haven't heard of the jockeys coming out. You hear occasionally when somebody's retiring maybe, or if somebody hits an absolute huge landmark, but to get everybody out, is that rare enough?
It is rare, yeah. So as you say, it's like my memories of that would be when a jockey's about to retire, and the very odd occasion, because like this is a fairy tale. Rory's story is absolutely a fairy tale. Rory does not ride horses in classics, full stop, and if he does, they're rags. So for him to ride, and I actually didn't appreciate maybe enough of Jim Bolger giving Rory Cleary the ride. And with all due respect to Rory Cleary, Jim Bolger could have gotten a higher profile horse, a higher profile jockey to ride a horse that, bear in mind,
they thought had a chance of winning.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so on the Friday. I would have. I think it went into like 5-1 before the race, purely because of the ground. And as Rory says now, it actually mightn't have been as bad as people were thinking. It did drift a bit on the day, but it did have a massive chance. I mean, it won at the Racing Boss Trophy, or the whatever it's called now, last year on that sort of ground. And a lot of other trainers would have gone for a higher profile jockey. And I think that means an awful lot to the Cleary family. And Jim Bolger can feel really, really satisfied. It might, in terms of
Well,
Jim's wealth, if I'm being very, very harsh here in the cold light today, probably in terms of the stallion potential of these horses, would have been better if Poetic Flare won the race, because he's a dual Guineas winner then, and he goes to stud as a dual Guineas winner. So probably Jim would have been richer going forward, if you want to look at it that way. But I think he was richer in terms of the experience of Rory Cleary winning the Classic.
Isn't that kind of the thing that we should be highlighting here, is that like he could have made this cold commercial decision but actually had loyalty to somebody who's been in his yard for 9 years and gave him the opportunity, and then that loyalty is rewarded. I don't know
from the top of my head if Colin Keane had a ride in the race, for example. He's probably the best jockey in Ireland at the moment. I can't remember if Colin Keane had a ride in the race. Jim Bolger could easily have done that. That's not the way he operates, and loyalty is a thing in racing that when it works out, I think it's beautiful. And this was a beautiful Irish sporting moment, no doubt.
Colin Keane was on the Rostafarian.
Which was what price?
Finished 7th at 16-1.
Yeah, so...
For Hugo Palmer.
So easily could have picked, just for example, like, I'm not saying Jim Bolger books Colin Keane.
Sure, but...
He could have easily gotten a jockey. Like, you're putting Rory Cleary on a horse. Rory Cleary does not have much experience of riding horses in classics, and let alone horses with a big chance. So, like, if Mac Swiney went too fast there, or if, basically if he were the best horse in the race and he were beat, people would say, oh, why did he put Rory Cleary on? Why did he get a bigger name jockey? And it turns out it couldn't have worked out better. He gave the horse an absolute... I genuinely believe that he did play it down there. The horse... It's a lot easier to ride a horse that gets into a rhythm. But the pace, he won by a short head over a mile. That's after going over a mile.
The start.
Yeah, and like I was watching it, and like from the get-go, I was like, this couldn't be going better. He wasn't really pestered up front, but there's an art to getting it right, and it's so easy to get it wrong on a horse that stays further. And it's all about pace, and you're looking at races day in day out where horses basically go to the front too soon and they get tired. And if you go 6 furlong pace in a mile race, you're essentially not going to win. He could have done that, he didn't. And the horse, as much as the horse was game, and maybe Poetic Flare ran about a bit as well, I think that was a brilliant ride by Rory Cleary. And he'll go to his grave saying, I won a classic for Jim Bolger by a short head, and I couldn't have done a better job.
Like, I was asking that question about the phone ringing. Presumably other trainers are out there and other owners are out there going, that guy just won that really, really well. He's in his early 30s, obviously has a lot of experience of being... around some incredibly high quality horses. Why aren't we giving him an opportunity more often? Am I wrong about that? Like, it's obviously very competitive.
It won't make a blind bit of difference.
He won't get booked more often as a result of that.
Because he's in an environment in which we're basically world leaders in terms of racing, and our jockeys are top class. And if you can have Rory Cleary, or you can have a 5 or 7 pound claimer that you deem to be his equal, you go, and that's the cold reality of it. I don't think Rory will actually mind that so much. I think, as he says now, he could essentially retire a happy man, train a winner for off the ball, and just say, I won a classic. So I don't think he'll mind that too much. It might remind some people that Rory's available, but so are 100 other jockeys. All right.
Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. You mentioned Barney Curley there. What is for people who don't know anything about Barney Curley, saw that he passed away this week, and he was kind of a legendary figure in the sport. What should they know a bit more about?
Yeah, I mentioned there that 2003 was a really horrible year for Irish racing. We lost Kieran Kelly, we lost Sean Cleary, and we lost Timmy Houlihan. I don't want to forget Timmy Houlihan. I spoke to his parents after he passed away, and he's not forgotten as well. But that particular race in Galway was tragic. But out of that came the hope of Sean Cleary's family having winners and Rory winning the classic. So the show goes on. Pat Smullen passed away tragically young. With Barney Curley, it was the case of Barney had lived a full life. He was in his 80s, and you can accept it with much more grace that he lived a full life. And boy, did he live a full life. He just Google Barney Curley, the story of Yellow Sam. I spoke to a bookmaker who was 15 years of age. He was in the ring that day of Yellow Sam. If you don't know the story, there was actually a play made about it. Barney got a horse to win in a desperate race at Bellewstown. He was deeply in debt at the time to Sean Graham bookmakers, probably including and others as well. He wanted people to back the horse for him at SP. Now, that's risky, because if you go into a betting shop in those days and put a few quid in the horse, the bookies will try to get the horse's price down so that the starting price is lower, so that in the event of a winning, they'll be paying a lot less. Their avenue to doing that was to ring the phone at the racecourse. So Barney had gotten one of his lieutenants, a burly man from the north. And bear in mind, this is in the mid-70s when you weren't apt to necessarily mess with a burly man with a northern accent. But he got him to go into the phone box, occupy it for half an hour or whatever it was before the race. So there was no line for the bookmakers to get through to the track. And anyone who basically tried to get to the phone box was probably somewhat intimidated by the burly man. And the bookmaker I was talking to during the week told me that there was actually supposed to be a fella monitoring the phone box on that day, but he had a mysterious bout of diarrhea and went AWOL. So anyway, the bookmaker's there beside Charlie Farrell, and Charlie Farrell, the Farrell family, Seamus Farrell, an absolute legend of the ring. Can't wait to go back, see him at the Dogs and have bets with him and Ted Hegarty and the lads again. But the Farrell clan anyway, Charlie Farrell was looking over at Sean Graham's board. Sean Graham was going 20 to 1, 25 to 1, 33 to 1 this Yellow Sam. So every other bookmaker followed because they're like, Sean Graham's from the north, he knows Barney, this horse has no chance. Next thing, the horse is passing the line in front. Sean Graham starts roaring him home. Sean Graham was in on it because Barney owed him 30 grand sterling.
Right.
And none of the other bookmakers knew. And Barney was somewhere in a hedge watching it. The jockey and him wanted to get out of the course ASAP. And out of that, I think he bought Middleton House, whatever it is, in Mullingar, which he later auctioned, which itself was of dubious legality. Micheál O'Hare was involved in the sale of it, and it was a big, big thing. And you bought a
lottery ticket,
a lottery ticket to win it. And then he went on to all these other mad things, but he basically he pulled off a few accumulators that I think changed the way people look at gambling in multiples forever. And he was an amazing man. But I should mention he dedicated his profits later in life after his son died tragically as well in a car crash. He was only a young man. He changed his way of looking at life, and he dedicated basically all his resources to spending money in Zambia and fundraising for Zambia for hospitals, for schools, and for direct aid for Africa. And that's his main legacy. He was an amazing man.
All right, okay. That's a suitable testimony page to Barney Curley on Friday Night Racing this week. I want to tell you about this. Tom Malone has stretched out a substantial lead in the tote 10 to follow with Tattersalls Irish 2000 Guineas winner Mac Swiney, landing 61.4 10 to follow points. You weren't on him in the 10 to follow.
That is a big one for Bugsy Malone. Now he said we could be in trouble.
We are. You were on him in real life though. The current standings see myself on 4 points. Not doing so well here. Johnny on 21 and Tom streaking ahead on 89 points. Visit tote.ie to receive a 10% boost on all Irish and UK racing dividends with Tote Plus. That is the crack this week with Friday Night Racing. Is there anything else that we should talk about this week?
No, it's obviously a classic weekend next week, but there's a lot of racing on in Ireland, Navan, Punchestown this weekend, but it's big fields, tough enough stuff. Maybe hold your powder dry. Keep an eye on a horse called Doolan Dancer for Ken Condon on Sunday. I like his chance at Navan, but it's all about the classics next weekend, and who knows what Jim Bolger is going to do. All
right, Friday Night Racing Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. We'll see you next week.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.